Hey guys, what's up? 2-Bit Jesus here, and welcome to another episode of 2-Bit Talks. And today I'm going to be talking, well, it's going to be a double feature actually, of two little nuggets of news that happened the past week. And that's that, one, Sony is not doing a PlayStation experience this year. They are ditching PSX for 2018. Now, that doesn't mean PSX is gone for good. They'll probably do one in 2019. Now, there are some people that are kind of rattling the cages and saying, oh, this means the PS5 is next year. That's what's gonna happen. It's the PS... I don't necessarily think that that's the case. It could be. They could be going, hey, we're gonna gear up because we're gonna have Last of Us 2, and we're going to have Ghost of Shiitake Mushrooms. Those are gonna be our big launch titles for the PS5, and we're gonna wait till the end of next year, and we're going to do it at our PlayStation event, and then we're going to announce the PS5 and those games coming out for it, and we're going to release the PS5 that holiday, that fall season. I don't think they would do that. For one, that would, kind of cut the legs from under the PS4, which is doing very well. Sony is in the driver's seat right now, this generation, and you don't want to end the generation when you're in the driver's seat like they are. It's the typically when you are ahead, like Sony is this generation, like Xbox was last generation, like Nintendo was, say, with the Super Nintendo. When you are the dominant console in the market, you don't want to rush the next generation. You're like, no, we're doing really well. We have tons of our consoles out on the market, and people are buying tons of software for it, so you're not in too big of a rush to get to that next console. Typically, it's the other console manufacturer who's behind a little that isn't rushed. Let's get a new console out there because this one obviously isn't being able to compete well. A good example would be Sega with the Sega Master System. They jumped from that right to the Genesis, and Nintendo was still doing the original NES, and then after the Genesis came out, Nintendo was like, okay, we'll come out with our next system. So I don't think Sony would want to go ahead and rush this. Also, I think, let's be fair to Sony, they've released their two big exclusives for this year. God of War has been out. Spider-Man just recently dropped, and you have a bunch of big third-party games coming out for the system at the end of this year. But as far as Sony themselves, what do they have to show? They don't have much to show this year. So they don't want to put on a show like last E3, where their show went off about as well as a wet fart in church on Sunday would. It was not a great showing. I mean, I really liked the Last of Us 2 trailer. That was pretty cool. I liked, seeing some Spider-Man stuff, but overall their show at E3 I don't think was that good. I think Sony saw that, and, heading into PSX, they're like, hey, we don't really have much to show. I think even last year PSX showing wasn't that strong. I think they sat on couches and talked a bunch. So I think Sony goes, hey, you know what? We can skip this year. Next year we'll have more stuff to show. And I actually think if they do reveal the PS5, it'll be for 2020, not 2019. Anyway, long story short, I just think that they saw that, hey, it's going to be a weak show. We would rather not do the show at all and just build up to next year's show, rather than giving you, an inferior showing this year. And I think it's smart. You don't want people to start thinking, oh, well, that sucked. Sony doesn't have anything going on. At least this way, you got speculation going, and people are talking about it and getting excited. And so even if you didn't have anything to show, you would at least have generated some interest in your brand and your product. Now, the other part of this double feature of information that I have is going to be that Microsoft is bringing back their live event, the XO18, and I believe it's going to be in Mexico City this November. Lots of speculation. I'm not going to really get into the speculation about what announcements that they will have, but they're just doing a big, kind of similar to what PSX is. This is an Xbox version. They used to do this a lot, especially in the 360 era. But, in the beginning of the Xbox One era and the disaster that it was, they kind of put that off to the side. But this, to me, I'm not going to speculate on what they'll show, but at least this to me shows that Microsoft they're getting aggressive. They're getting in there. They're like, okay, we're coming out with our own event. And again, this was before the announcement that there wasn't going to be a PSX when we heard about Xbox doing this event. This is just Microsoft saying, no, Sony does events, once a year, PSX, we're going to do it again. We're bringing it back, and it's going to be showing some news and showing you what we're working on, and just kind of a celebration of our brand and really getting out there, putting their brand out there. I think that, that's good. Microsoft is really going for it. And I think Sony might be feeling it a little bit. Maybe that's another reason why Sony is kind of going, hey, let's not do PSX this year, because they also don't want the comparison, because maybe they don't have a lot to show, at this point. They do have a lot that they're working on, but maybe right now Sony doesn't have a lot to show, and they wouldn't want a comparison going, oh, look, Sony had nothing for their event, and Microsoft had all this cool stuff to show for their event. So, there's that, but exciting that Microsoft is getting back in there. They seem to have gone through a rough patch at the beginning of the generation, and then they spent the middle of this generation just trying to rebuild their brand, and I think now they're at a point where they got a little bit of a swagger in their step, and they're kind of building up on it. All kind of interesting stuff. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. Be sure to like and share this video out, and of course, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and ding the bell. That way you become a follower of the most holiest of all YouTubers. That is I, 2-Bit Jesus. Once again, guys, thanks for watching, and as always, my fellow followers, stay safe and play on.